Hello, my name is LaWanda Hopefields, and I have the honor and the privilege of serving as the director for the Ronald E. McNair Post-Baccalaureate Achievement Program, also known as McNair Scholars. During this 2019-20 academic year, we are excited to celebrate our anniversary of 25 years on the Wichita State campus. Although during this year, we have encountered many challenges, as most of America has, we are so proud to still celebrate our students, and we have great appreciation for the faculty members who have stayed the course to bring this year's scholarly activities to a close. I would like to acknowledge my boss and mentor, Ms. Delta Q. Colvin, for her support during these most recent challenging times, but also for her confidence in me to lead this dynamic group of students. Miss Ashley Cervantes and Miss Nisha Green are the capable hands behind the scene, and a mere thank you is not enough for all that they do. They are the backbone of our program, and I am forever grateful. As we celebrate 25 years of academic excellence and 15 students who are completing their scholarly research, I also want to thank you as our supporters and as our listeners. Thank you for being there for the students and for the program as we celebrate 25 years of academic excellence. Enjoy these dynamic presentations.
Hi, my name is Inneke Vargas, and I worked on a project with my mentor, Dr. Brendan Clark, and it was on assessing the impact of racial categorizations on mental health service utilization and outcomes. To give a bit of background on this project, I was looking at this because I was interested in mental health stigma, particularly within the African American community, and I wanted to focus on college students, minorities at a PWI, or predominantly white institution, to see if they had a difference in their efficacy of treatment and utilization, and if there was an impact of cross-racial dyads in the therapeutic settings. A cross-racial dyad is going to be when the client and the therapist are of differing races, ethnic or cultural backgrounds. I had two hypotheses on this project. The first hypothesis was I thought there would be a discrepancy in the levels of satisfaction between minority and non-minority students. The second hypothesis was that minority students will report lower rates of utilization due to counselor availability, minority counselors in particular. The method that I utilized Qualtrics. That's a survey creation and data analysis platform. I used that to create my survey and also to collect all the data from it and then later analyze the data that I got from the respondents. The survey was composed of 4 demographic questions, 4 researcher-created questions, and those were questions that were specifically focused on the Counseling and Prevention Services, or CAPS, here at Wichita State. And the other 12 questions, I sourced them from the Satisfaction with Therapy and Therapist scale. And the entire survey was held in the SONA system. We made it available March 16th, 2020, and we did put a cap at 100 participants, and we were able to get that full amount of participants for the study. The method that I used for participant recruitment, we did inclusion criteria to include every participant that was between the ages of 18 and 89, and you also had to be a student at Wichita State University. The exclusion criteria was anyone under the age of 18, of course, for consent reasons, and then over the age of 89, they were also excluded based on that being a special identifier. The results from the study, I did a one-way Anova, and I used that to compare the rapport, which we kind of made that to translate to the satisfaction rates between on-campus mental health service practitioners and minority and non-minority students. Thankfully, there was no significant difference found between the two groups. There was just a small difference between the two, with satisfaction rates amongst minority students being slightly lower at 3.83 comparative to white students at 3.44. I did get some results for the participant demographics because I wanted to see kind of how the makeup of the participant base was. Majority of the students were white females between 18 and 24. That is pretty typical for studies that take place at PWIs to be skewed higher towards white women. I would like to see that to be expanded more, for future focus, which we'll go over in the later slide. Qualitative responses. So I did collect qualitative responses as well. I wanted to make sure that I was including students in their opinions, their beliefs, and their feedback on their experiences. I did have really 4 great quotes from students that they left in the qualitative section of the survey. Combating systems-related barriers, that's a huge thing that happens within this type of survey, the study, when we look at how students react to mental health services at their institution, particularly if it's a PWI. So this student was saying that they didn't really know that CAP services were available at WSU, and it would be a good thing for it to be talked about to new students during the mandatory orientation. Concerns about inclusivity. One thing when the students were responding about minority groups was thinking about LGBTQ and their minorities too, and that's true, and that should be something that's looked at when we think about mental health services, as their needs may differ from students that don't identify in that spectrum. Representation is also a huge thing. One student said that they actually hadn't received services through CAPS, and they would feel more comfortable if there were minority counselors. That would give them the opportunity to feel comfortable with themselves in that setting and speak truthfully to the counselor about the things that were asked of them. But there were some successes, though. Definitely happy to report. One student said that they just started CAPS recently when they took the survey, and it was the best decision that they had made since they started WSU. So that was definitely something terrific to hear. To touch back on the limitations and future focus, again, participants, majority white women. There was a small participant pool. I did cap it at 100, but I would have liked that to be bigger. And I only studied Wichita State. So future focus, I would really like to see maybe the survey be expanded to more schools, maybe some HBCUs or historically black colleges or universities, just to do a comparative on what those numbers would look like. And then I would like to maybe focus this semester on doing a minority-focused mental health group, definitely not exclusionary of anyone, but more inclusive of issues that minority students need to tackle that are specific to their group. So I'd like to thank the McNair program and my mentor, and thank you. That's actually a really great question. I think it's difficult for me to explain it because it's not my experience, but if I had to maybe kind of just draw a conclusion, I would think that the counselors that are available at CAPS are doing a great job. Maybe even though we think that there are issues with cross-racial dyads, that might not be a really heavy concern at Wichita State, and minority students maybe feel like they are being served just as well. Their satisfaction with the services may be on par. Will the satisfaction rates increase if there was an increase in minority counselors? That might be possible as well. So I can only kind of, surmise what I think may be the cause of that, but if I had to guess, that would probably be my best guess, my educated guess on that. I think representation is a huge thing. That's one of the reasons why I'm focused on the discipline of psychology, because I think that we need more minority counselors to bring down these issues, being so prevalent on a societal level. If Wichita State, maybe took the time to source from a bigger pool for people to join CAPS, or even just, maybe find some people that can come and do maybe volunteer or pro bono work and have like a once a month session. And that's kind of why I'm thinking about doing that group, You Good, because that we ask each other that all the time, like, hey, are you good? And, if we can maybe source counselors that are minorities or, represent underrepresented groups, that would be good. I don't think people should be hired just solely based on that reason. They still have to provide services in a way that, is helpful to students, but, we just have to source out. That's the only thing I can think of. Some questions that I might address. I would probably like to ask face-to-face more pointed questions about why minority students aren't accessing the services as much as they maybe should or could. That would really be kind of like snowballing off of that larger question, kind of drill down on that a little bit. Thank you for watching. My name is Inneke Vargas, and this concludes my presentation on assessing the impact of racial categorizations on mental health service utilization and outcomes.